Okay. Sorry, I'm just checking to see if I had recorded the previous ones, making sure. Yay, it got all of them recorded. One more segment for now. Um, okay, so it looks sort of furry. We want to make it look a little furrier. What we're going to use to do that is a specific fur brush. If you're interested in using this fur brush, I have it on my computer. Just note me and I can email it to you. Um, because I got it from a pack on DA. All right. So what we want to do is, what we have is a brush. It's long and thin, kind of needle shaped, but there are a couple settings that make it look fur-like. Just so, just to kind of, uh, to begin, I'll create a new layer on top of the um, the layer on which we did the fur. And I'm going to use the previous layer to create a clipping mask. That basically means that everything that I paint on this layer that would go outside the bounds of the layer under it does not exist. So I can't draw fur outside of where the fur is. And you can notice with this little arrow in the layer window, that's what it indicates. Okay, so if you notice, the color of the brush right now is pink. We want to change that. You can click alternate to use the eyedropper. We're going to use a light color right now. And just to make sure what you want, you can go into this brush window. You'll see things like shape dynamics. On size jitter, that changes the size. That means that the size can vary, which is really nice with fur because fur lengths vary. Um, let's do a tiny bit of angle jitter, like maybe, yeah, 2% or something. Means it changes a little tiny bit which direction they're going. Um, and then if you go to scattering, that you'll see changes how wide the different brushes go. Um, color dynamics, I like setting brightness jitter on about 20%. That means it varies the lightness and darkness of it. Um, and that is, again, like fur. You won't have all the fur be one color. All right. Um, okay. So, if you notice, I can just start painting over the fur in the directions that I smudged it. And we've got fur. You notice that? It's really, really subtle on this screen, but you can see individual hairs. And that's what we really want right now. We want just the idea that they're individual hairs in the stuff that we made. We don't need a lot. So you're not covering the entire thing. You're just covering specific parts. And always in the direction that you smudged, otherwise it looks bad. And you can mess around with the opacity too. So you can have lower opacity and it looks more subtle. You can have higher opacity and it looks a lot more bold. So you probably want a little bit of a mix of opacities with this brush. And you can change the sizes too, especially if you're covering large areas like this torso. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit more. We'll just all right. And then we're going to mess with, so we'll actually put a lot of this in the ears because the ears are really fuzzy. And the smudge tool doesn't allow us to approximate that fuzz as well as we probably would like. Whoops. Lots of fuzz in the ears. We'll reduce the opacity for the face because you don't want it to be too bold on the face. Okay. So we've got a lot of fur. And now we can mess with blending. So we can make it so it only goes lighter, which it basically will. We can do overlay, which I think it looks best. I'm not quite sure how to explain what it does, but it looks better than lighten. It changes the way it interacts with the lower layers, basically. And let's actually stick a layer mask on this fur layer, because there are some places where I want you to be able to see it. More than I want you to be able to see it in others. Okay, so layer mask, reveal all. So let's take the brush. We'll get a circular brush. So we don't want to see it along the edges so much. In the shadows, you don't want to see the highlights as much. And actually, with the fur brush, you almost always want to go up to filter, and then click blur and Gaussian blur. Um, so you always want to use a very minor blur just to make it match the kind of the look of the entire piece. Because if it's not blurry at all, the fur will look out of place. But if there's a little blur, you can still see the definition without it looking crazy. Okay, I think we've got that. Actually, let's darken the nose a bit. Or maybe not so much. Okay, so we'll stick a little shine on the nose. Maybe we can add a little bit of the brush with the fur brush with dark instead of light for those areas where it's so we're going to do Alt and choose a darker area. And then in the areas where it's dark, we'll stick a little bit of fur. Yeah, that looks good. That way we get some fur definition in the dark areas. Okay, and then we'll stick a little bit on the ears. We'll stick a layer mask on that. Filter blur, Gaussian blur. And voila. Okay, well, I think that's about it for what I was going to do today. I'll have later installments about antlers, and I think maybe about tails, even though we wouldn't be able to see the caribou tail. Um, we'll see what we can do. Anyway, hope that helps.